Dan, I can't hear you. I can't see you and I can't hear you, Dan. Dan, I can see you. I can't hear you.
Wonderful.
Good morning, folks. Welcome back to our second episode, live from Jerusalem to Europe, and especially our friends in Vilnius, Lithuania. Folks, we have a wonderful show lined up for you with inspiring thoughts from the Bible with Rabbi Chaim Goldberg, my rabbi. And folks, now I've got the group in Vilnius, Lithuania. For those of you that don't know, here in the West, Vilnius, Lithuania is a former Soviet bloc country, but they have such rich history and rich heritage. And for those here in the West, if you're not familiar, their city has a bigger population than Chicago or Toronto, and about 500,000 more population than even Houston, Texas. So this is a major metropolis, folks, on the edge of the Western Empire. Folks, I want to introduce you to some wonderful people from Vilnius, Lithuania. We have Renat. Renat, how are you today?
I'm feeling great. Really enjoying one more class with Rabbi Chaim. I'm glad to see you guys together with us the second time already.
It's exciting. It's a wonderful opportunity to meet you folks. It's nice to see that there are people all around the globe that study Noahide, study the traditions of the Jewish people and the rich heritage that they have to share. Tell me a little bit about yourself and your group there in Vilnius.
Dan, I want to say that you made a great introduction of city of Vilnius from the geographical and political perspective. But since we are about Judeans talking here, so I want to open the parenthesis that Vilnius is considered the northern Jerusalem.
Ah.
Probably you heard about Litvaks, which are considered one of the most religious peoples in the world, the ones who established the world-famous yeshivas and the ways of studies, the systems of studies in these yeshivas. And some of the most famous rabbis and sages around the world, they are actually originally from this part of the world.
Wow.
So I think that is more important for your listeners to know than this geographical aspect.
So true, so true. And we look forward to connecting with you more and more, and just being inspiring to other people around the globe that they can connect. I have had the wonderful opportunity to share some rabbis out of Jerusalem and met people from Africa, from Australia, from South America, from Norway, The world is getting smaller and smaller, and it is our honor to get to meet you folks as well. And can you tell us a little more about yourselves? Even speak in your own tongue if you prefer.
Sure. I myself stepped into Judaism not so long ago. About 3 years ago, I started to read books about Jewish wisdom, and then more on being interested on the religious aspect of it. And about a year ago, started to study Torah on my own, and then wrote to the local Noahide community organizer, and I learned that there is a community on Facebook, but this community had not been organizing regular meetings. So I decided to bring people physically together and have these regular classes of Torah with Rabbi Chaim. So that's the story behind our little growing step-by-step community.
Well, it's always humble beginnings, but it does grow, and we're excited to meet you. Do you want to? Shall we turn this over to Rabbi Chaim? I think he's he's wondering if. Yeah, tell us about yourself, please.
Hello.
Hello.
My name is Matas. I'm local from Vilnius. I was born in Vilnius. Vilnius was called Vilna. It is a Jewish name for our capital. It's
yes.
Jerusalem Melita. It's yes, Rabbi.
Okay,
So
can you hear me now?
We can hear you, Rabbi.
Oh, I can hear all of you. Okay.
yes.
Go on, Mattis.
No, but Matas can continue.
Okay, so long story short, I'm a lover of history, and exploring Lithuanian history, I found out about Vilnius past, about Gaonomi Vilna, great sage of Vilnius, and
Yes.
about Mitnagdim. It's an opposite to Hasidim movement. I started exploring about it, about Lithuanian Jewry. And later on, I don't know, maybe 7-8 years ago, I found about Vilna Gaon, about that he was Kabbalist. I started studying Kabbalah in one of world-known organization, not religious. And later on, I decided to study Judaism. But as I'm not a Jew by my mother's side, so I have a path to convert or to be a Noahide. So we decided, first of all, to be a Noahide. So I found about Noahide movement maybe months ago, and it's my second lecture here, physically listening to Rabbi Goldberg.
Wow, that's exciting. All I can say is it's been an honor of mine to meet Rabbi Goldberg. Rabbi, can you hear me yet, or?
I can hear everybody now. I hope that you all can hear me and see that I'm speaking.
Well, I don't want you getting any feedback, so we're going to turn it over to you, Rabbi, because we have come to listen to Torah, and we know that it's out of Zion, out of Jerusalem, and we're so honored that you take the time out of your busy schedule to share with us. So good day to you, and we look forward to hearing what inspiring thoughts from the Bible you have to share today. So,
okay, so let's start on. I hope that you all see my screen, because we're going to learn this day. Today we're going to learn Torah. We are going to learn the Bible itself, and I call this. Can you hear me? Good. I'm going to shout you down, to mute you down, all of you. And we will have break times for people to have, so they can ask questions.
Awesome. We can hear you fine, Rabbi. You're recording okay.
Okay, excellent. So I'm starting. I'm going to speak today about, to teach today. Hi, we must also welcome for coming. Good to see you. Good to see you live. I'm going to speak today a bit about the secret of the Shabbat, of Saturday. I'm not sure that we will manage to finish all of this subject today, but we are going to start. And I'm going to a bit amaze you all, because we're going to do this we're going to learn inside the Bible, chapter number 1, the beginning of the Bible, the beginning of the Bible. So I don't know if all of you managed to see that, but in each day, okay, the beginning of the Bible is explaining or showing us how God created this world, and he did it in 6 days. Now, we are saying days, but basically we're speaking about 6 stages, okay, that God did. And in each stage, in each day, I'm not sure even that all those days, nobody knows, because there were no men in this time. So we can't say that those days were 24 hours like today, okay? So we're speaking about 6 stages. We're calling each stage a day. But if you will look inside, we will see that each day have 4 stages of creation, okay? The first stage is planning, decision, God deciding to do something. I will show an example soon, so it won't be foggy, okay? It will be very clear. We're going to learn the Bible, as we said. Then the second stage is implementation of the plan, or I will say in reality, the actual implementation. The third stage is God judgment or confirmation on this stage that he said, that he asked, and what happened. And at the end of the day is a conclusion of the day. So I want it to be very clear. So we're going to see it on the first day. On the first day, I'm saying we're going to move now to those 4 stages. Step number 1, let me move this aside so it is, so it won't disturb, okay? Everybody can see the screen? We're learning Torah. Vayomer Elohim yehi or. So God is planning, okay? God have a decision. He wants to bring the light here in this world. This is his planning. This is his will. This is his decision. He is wishing. God said, let there be a light. The second stage is what we can see in the red one, the actual implementation. In this specific day, God wanted, God planted, God decided that there will be a light, and that's it. Vayehi or, and there was a light, and there was light. So the implementation, the actual implementation, have no gap, no difference between God's will and the appearance of his will in this world. Of course, we need to mention that we're not speaking about the physical world, the physical light. It's not the visual light that we see today. It's more other spiritual things like understanding, like when we understand something, we're saying to ourselves, I see the light. I see this issue. Also, till today, in the cartoons, when they're trying to show that something is blinking in my mind, they're showing a bulb, blinking. It's a light, something lightning in my brain. So we speak about something much more spiritual. But again, we have God's will from one side, Vayomer, and God said, let there be light. And we have the second stage is the actual implementation. The third part is the judgment, or we'll say the confirmation that God saw the light, that it was good. The word good or bad is some sort of judgment. It's good or bad. I need to judge this situation. Vayar Elohim et ha'or ki tov. God saw the light, that it was good. The word good is judgment or confirmation that this is what he wanted. This is good enough for what he wanted, for what he aimed. So this is the third stage that we have. And then we have at the end, the fourth stage. And the fourth stage is the conclusion. Okay, the conclusion of the day, the conclusion of this gap, of this station, I will call it like that. The station of the first day was only to do the light. And it was evening and it was morning, one day. It's not by mistake that this one is called one day. In Hebrew, we say Yom Echad. it was supposed to be Yom Rishon, the first day, not one day, the first day. There are a few reasons why it's being called only one day, not the first day. One of the reasons we will mention later on, but now if we're trying to conclude, I will say, all the 4 stages, so we can say, I'm showing it on the first day, on day one, okay, on day one, I'm showing these 4 stages. The planning, the decision is, God said, let there be light, and the implementation of the plan, okay, in reality, the actual implementation is, and there was light. Then we're going to the judgment of God, and God saw the light that it was good, and the conclusion, and it was evening and it was morning, one day. So till now, I've just said, okay, that those 4 principles are running in each day. It's a bit more complicated, but it is running in each day. And we have 6 days that we have those 4 steps of planning, implementation, judgment, and conclusion. 6 days of this. And we have 10 times, again, 10 times we have the words, and God said. I'm showing this now in red. The words, and God said, or what we say in Hebrew, Vayomer Elohim, we have 10 times in this first chapter. In those 6 days, we have 10 times that God said all sorts of things. Sometimes even, as we can understand, he's saying more than one wish, more than one planning, more than one decision of doing something here in this world in one day. But in those 6 days, this is the 4, I will say, stages that everything is running. So now I will say we finished the first step of this lesson. And I already said this last week, but I'm going to say this again now. And it's one of the principles when we want to learn something. I'm quoting from Rashi in the beginning of Leviticus. Okay. Now it says like that: in each subsection in the Torah does not repentance a new beginning from God to Moses. Actually, in a new prophecy, then what is the purpose of those between the lines, of those subsections? Why are we doing those subsections between the parshas, between the verses that God is giving Moses? To give Moses a pause to complement between one message and the next, and between one subject to another. So before we will continue on, after I explain this issue of the 4 levels, of the 4 stages that we have, if someone have any question, this is the time. If not, we can continue. I know that you don't have the Bible in front of you, and I'm offering all of us from the next time that you will have also the Bible in front of you, because I'm going to teach from the Bible. So I'm giving it here on the screen, but from the other side, you can see inside, and you can have also questions and to ask me what exactly I'm speaking, or if you have any questions about the things that I have to have. So if anyone have a question, this is the time. If not, I will continue. You can raise your hand, or you can ask something. You can, Dan, I understand that you also...
Rabbi, yeah. Now I'm just reading that between the lines that you have up there right now. It says, now if each subsection in the Torah does not represent a new beckoning from God to Moses, ushering in a new prophecy, then what is the purpose of these subsections? To give Moses a pause to contemplate between one passage and the next, and between one section and another. So you're saying that at the end of Genesis chapter 1, verse 3, and let there be light, and there was light, you're saying there was a pause after that?
No, the pause is coming after the conclusion of the day. After the conclusion of the day, when God is saying it was I'm saying it was evening and it was morning, one day, then we have a pause. And this is also why after I show this idea, this principle, I'm also giving a pause that people can ask questions about my idea that I gave here. But there is a pause after every day. after every day, we have a pause in the Torah, because we need to understand that each day have a different, it's a different world each day. It is a different world altogether in each day. If I can say that it's all sorts of worlds that are being built one upon the other one, but those are different worlds, and God is giving us in between the lines to understand the differences between those days. And I also have here, I'm giving also the opportunity, if someone wants to ask questions, this is a time of a break, of an essence. If not, we will continue on.
Rabbi, I have a question.
Yes.
Is that day the same day that we have now, like 24 hours? Or it is just symbolically one day, but it could have been 1 billion of years? Yeah, pardon.
Since there were no men in those days until the 6th day, we don't know the exact answer. So we can say that it was a day as 24 hours, but it's much more likely to say today that we know with the science that the world is being built up in a long time, that each day of those days was a much more bigger time and period of time. And when we will conclude the lesson of today, you will see that it might be just some sort of a symbolic time and not a day like we have today. It's speaking more about stages. The first stage that we have was the light and darkness. The second stage, the second day, is giving the earth and the water, to do a separation between water and the earth. Okay, so and this is what we see. Yes, done.
Okay, Rabbi, I just wanted to ask a question about, it specifically says in the text, it says, and the evening and the morning were one day. Now, evening and morning, rather than say morning and evening, it says evening and morning. Can we not understand that as a setting and rising? A setting and a rising were one day. And I think that this has something to do with a question of purpose and a clear distinction in subsections without clouding the issue of a 24-hour day. I mean, because scientists know that in the past, the Earth spun faster, especially at the time of its early beginnings. The Earth spun much quicker. And I don't think that it's intended to tunnel vision us on 24-hour day. But I find the Hebrew people are unique in that they count the day evening and morning rather than morning and evening. Can you elaborate on that? I've always viewed it saying evening, meaning that it was setting. There was a setting going on, and then morning, a rising. So when I read the earliest translations, I see it as a setting and a rising one day.
Now, what you asked is basically two different issues. One issue is that it's true that in the Hebrew tradition, because of this verse, we have that it starts, every day starts at night and finishing at the end of the day when the sun is going sunset. And this is also why the Shabbat, the seventh day, we're starting it in the evening before the seventh day, and the evening always is belong to the day after that. First is the evening and then the day. So this is regarding one question that you asked. Regarding the second question that you asked, if it's only 24 hours, and as you mentioned before, it was even spinning even faster. As I said before, since we didn't have any men until the sixth day, so the issue of the timing that we have today is really different. Now, only after men came to be reality in this world, from then we can start speak about the issue of timing that we have today. But before that, I will give an example. I think that Dan, we spoke about this earlier in this year in one of our sessions. Let's go, for example, to the issue of the elections. You know, in Israel, we're going to have elections in 2 weeks or something. And
right.
In each country, we have all sorts of elections. So today, the elections is something that is being ruled up with the laws of the state. Okay, also in the United States, everything is, or in Canada or in Lithuania, everything is working with the laws. You know, you're going to vote. There are all sorts of strict laws how exactly the voting is going and running, and everything is supposed to be in this in the strict laws of the voting. But let's go to the earlier time that we voted, 4 years ago, and 4 years before that, and 4 years before that. There is a beginning side. The first time that the elections happened, it wasn't happening, I will say, with the laws that we have today.
Right.
After we decided the first, you know, the structure that we have, then we organized this as a laws. So the first one was organized differently. You know, the same matter, you know, the issue of time is relating only to us as human beings today when we are in this world and we see every day how the world is spinning, and we saying the day is 24 hours. But before man was here, things were working differently. And I don't know, this is one of the things that are being explained in our sources, that the issue of time before man was here was working differently, and also the period of time, and also the issue of the word day. Okay, it says in Psalms that one day of God is like 1,000 years of us. So, you know, the issue of a day, the word day in the Bible can have a lot of meaning, not only 24 hours. So I don't know, again, now we went inside very much to this issue of one day, you know, it was a night, it was morning, and it was one day. If there are more questions about this, I will answer, but if not, we will continue on with the issue of the understanding a bit deeper to this first chapter of Genesis.
Yeah, continue, Rabbi.
The only question, are you looking also on the...
Yeah, I'm monitoring the chat lines, and I did have Cole from Washington State. He says, so each day is like a different chapter of creation almost?
It is true, very, very exactly. He says the right things. Each day it's like a different chapter, exactly. Okay, let's continue on. I want to show day 3. Day 3 is very important, very interesting, and it's and I want to show those 4 stages in day 3. Day number 3 is where I'm reading in Hebrew, and then we'll read it in English. ויאמר אלוהים, דשא הארץ דשא, עשב מזריע זרע, עץ פרי, עושה פרי למינו, אשר זרעו על הארץ ויחן. Dan, do you want to read it in English? You're reading it much more fluently than me.
And God said, let the earth sprout vegetation, seed yielding herbs, and fruit trees producing fruit according to its kind, in which its seed is found on the earth, and it was so.
So the words, if you will see good, the words "it was so" is saying that it was like God planned or decided. Okay, so let's read exactly what happened in the actual implementation. Okay, בתוצא הארץ דשא, עשב מזריע זרע למיניהו, ועץ עושה פרי אשר זרעו למיניהו. You can read it down in English, please, Dan.
And the earth gave forth vegetation, seed yielding herbs according to its kind, and trees producing fruit, in which its seed is found according to its kind.
So we're describing exactly what God asked and what happened exactly. Now, if we will see, it's not exactly the same thing, but still, God is giving a judgment, a confirmation, okay? And God saw it was good. Vayar Elohim ki tov. This is a judgment issue. I said to you, in all of the days, those 4 stages, and the conclusion is Vaye'erev Vayiboker Yom Shlishi, and it was evening and it was morning, a 3rd day. Okay, but if you will look precisely inside, what God said and what happened, okay, and even though it says, and it was so, we will see that there is a very interesting difference between what God wanted, the planning, the decision, and the actual implementation. The actual implementation was a bit different, okay? So I don't know, maybe you can see the difference. It's very clear, you know, when you know that. I will show this in the next slide. The ambition of God, I will say, the planning of God was that the fruits, that the trees will be also fruitful. And what happened is that the trees was only producing fruits. We have it till today. Now God said to himself, it's good, it's enough, it's enough. But the main aim of God, I will say it like that, was that the trees themselves will give also fruits, just like the taste of the fruit itself. And it didn't really happen. It's not like the issue of the light, okay, for example, where in the issue of the light, we see that God wanted that there will be a light, and there was a light. Here, something else is different. Something else is being written down, that
right.
God wanted the fruits will be, the trees will be also fruitful, and at the end, the trees are not fruitful. Now, to understand the difference, it's something that we need to learn a bit, okay? And I will say that, you know what, Dan, please read this Rashi. It's very important, the Rashi commentary, that what is saying here. Fruit trees. Dan?
You want me to read?
Yes.
Forgive me, I just had an airplane drive by. Okay, fruit trees. That the taste of the tree should be like the taste of the fruit. It, the earth, did not do so, however, but the earth gave forth, etc., trees producing fruit, but the trees themselves were not fruit. Therefore, when man was cursed because of his iniquity, it, meaning the earth, too, was punished for its iniquity, and was cursed, not in all additions from Genesis, Rabbah 5:9. And it's a difference between the planning decision and actual implementation.
Okay, so we have a very interesting distinguish, a very interesting gap between what God planned or what God wanted and what happened. So we're speaking about a gap, okay, between, now I'm not going to show all the days, but if you will look inside the days, you will see that there are more differences, okay? And first of all, we need to understand that before men came here to this world, before men appeared in this world, the earth had some sort of free will to decide not to do until, I will say, the last word of God. The land had the ability of some sort of ability of free will, because God is asking one thing.
Potential.
The potential, yes, and the earth is doing something else. By the way, in the Hebrew, the word eretz, earth, the word earth is coming from the word eretz in the Hebrew. Okay, and the word eretz is coming from the word ratzon. Ratzon is will. So the earth had some sort of free will to do whatever it wanted to do, and it didn't do the exact things that God asked him to ask the earth to do. And we're speaking about that, and it's running on from day one, except from day one. And this is also one of the reasons, as I said before, why we call this day one, we're not calling it the first day, because it's not on the same series of line, I will say. In the first day, as we remember, God is asking something, and this is exactly what is happening. he says, let there be light, and there was light. Okay, and Vayihi Or. But this is only in the first day. And this is why we call this first day, or not first day, we call this one day, because it's a unique day. Except for that, all of the other days, we have a gap between the planning and the decision of God and the actual implementation. So we have a gap, okay, between, I will say, it's something that needs repeatedness. We need to go back. We have a drive to try to be close to God back, even before man came to this world. So if we're going, I will say, to other cultures, even if it's also the Christian culture, that we're saying that only when man came to this world, only then he did a sin. We see that already before man came to this world, we have a gap between what God wants and what is happening in reality. So we need to work hard, all of the universe, not only men, to go back to God's will. This is the first point that we need to understand before we can continue on to understand a bit more insight to these issues. Are there any, again, between the lines, are there any questions till now?
Can you hear me, Rabbi?
I can hear, yes.
My understanding of the flow and the ebb and flow is more on a scientific scale, though I believe 100% that the words of Torah are accurate and true, and it's such a joy to hear you expound about the realities of the earth bringing forth. I'm under the impression that you had light, and then you had a natural cascading progression. Then you had the land and the dividing of the water, and then you had the sprouting of vegetation, and that there's a cascade. You could not have the vegetation without the land in the second day, and then you have the vegetation in the third day, and it was the vegetation of the third day that oxygenated the earth, and that allowed for the celestial to be viewed from within the earth. And then you have what's said as the creation of the sun, moon, and stars. It's not that they were created on the fourth day, because in the beginning God created the heavens and the earth in the beginning, back in 1:1, but they became visible. And I find that there's a logical progression of events from, you cannot have the grass without the land of the second day. You cannot have the land without the light of the first day, and you cannot have the clear skies of the heavens without the vegetation. And there is a connection between all this, and then even going forward still, it all runs harmonious and in synchronous, and God knew what he was doing from the beginning. And I find that it is explaining it to us in a way that we can decipher in actual events. But more so than that, it's a joy to hear you say, I'd never heard it said before, that the land brought it forth. God said, let the plant come forth, and the seed, with its seed in itself bearing fruit, and then the earth went and did it. That's a very unique point.
Yes, it is true. First of all, the first notes that you said are very, very right. There is also a logical, I will say, build-up of this world. Okay, you can't put the plants before you're moving the water, to the sea, and giving a bit of a place for the plants to grow up. And so it is very logical. All those things that you said, and it's working like that. But on the other side, it is also true what you mentioned at the end of the sentence that you said, that the earth itself had also the ability of taking out from itself those things. And the most important thing is to understand that not everything that God wanted or wished or planned that will happen really happened. There are all sorts of gaps in between that earth didn't manage to bring this world, I will say, to the most highest level that God wanted that it will become. And this is part of the things that we need to do, and we'll continue on. And we'll see it at the continuous of this chapter. And again, the Torah is not trying to give us, the Bible is not trying to give us just I will say the logical, scientific side of this world.
There's much more there. Yes.
Give us the issue of the morality way, how to do, what is our responsibility and what is our actions in this world, so we can be a better place. I will give go inside a bit. I will say one stage deeper. I'm trying all the time to speak, so let me give here 3 levels to understand a bit this issue of the fruit trees. The trees are also fruitful. Let's imagine, for example, that all of the trees that are giving us fruits, they themselves also could have been eaten by men. Okay, today when I'm taking an apple and I'm eating an apple, I can eat the apple. I can maybe even cook it, or maybe put it on the to do something with the apple, not only to bake it or something like that. But I can't eat the tree of the apple. The tree of the apple is not giving me anything, not any taste, and I can't really eat it. Now let's imagine a world that you can eat not only the fruits, but you can also eat the trees of the fruits. Because if you all think about this, the main part of the wars that we had in this world was because people wanted more space of hunting or more space of having food in their life. And if, for example, everybody could eat almost everything, that is moving here or not moving, everything that is still, man can eat, and not only the fruits that are coming or going out only once every few months. So it was a different world. It was altogether a different world from now. And this is something that we're not learning like that. When we're learning the Bible, okay, one of the questions that I had lately is how exactly we need to learn the Bible, or how exactly we're coming to all those insights in the Bible. So first of all, we need to learn the Bible. I will say one verse out of the other one, but when we're learning one verse, we need to understand what the verse is saying. One of the problems that we have today, that we know the end of the story, okay? Let's speak and let's try to read the Bible without knowing the next verse. When God is asking, or when God said in his planning, in his decision, let the earth throw out vegetation, okay? Seed yielding herbs and fruit trees producing fruit according to its kind. So God is speaking about one world. Let's imagine this world. Now at the end, when it says it was so, okay, it not really was the same. It was something similar. And we're seeing in the next verse that it's not that the trees are fruitful, but only the trees are producing fruits. So it's a different world. So God wanted one world, and we have today a different one. We can do this issue also with the other days. We will see that all the time, small, tiny, bitty differences, that God wanted one world, and we have today a different one. So this is, I will say, one point that we can say here. I will jump to the third point that is written down here, the spiritual world. I must again say that we're not speaking only about the issue of the fruits that we see today. Okay, we're speaking about something very spirituality, about the spiritual world. We have the world that we have today, but each thing that we see today have roots in the spiritual level. And on the same thing, the issue of the planetarian world, the issue of the planets, the trees and the fruits and the vegetation world, all of those things have also a spiritual level. And the Bible is speaking about the spiritual level. And on the spiritual level, to understand that there won't be any difference. You know, I'm coming to the second point that is written down here, that there won't be any difference between my wish, okay, and the way that I'm getting this wish. Today we have a very big difference. You know, when someone wants something, let's say, for example, I want a car, I want to buy a new car, I want to do, I want to buy a new car. So I need to write to myself all sorts of things that I need to do to buy this car. I need to gather enough money. I need to work to have enough money for this car. And then I need to go to decide what car I want to buy. I need to argue a bit about the payments. After that, I will sign the contract. It will take 2, 3, or 4 months until I will get this new car. And only after, you know, all of this long story that I have, I will get the car. So there is a difference between the fruit at the end, the car that I want to drive this nice car, and all of the way that I'm doing. And the way that I'm doing, a lot of times, it's very hard, it's very harsh, it's very exhausting for me to do this way. But God wanted a different world. He wanted a world that also the way of achieving my goal, the fruit at the end, will be with the same taste of the fruit itself. And it didn't happen at the end. Today we have a difference between the way of achieving my goal. The goal itself is very sweet. The fruit of the goal itself is very good. But the way of achieving it is very hard. Let's take, for example, the people who are working very hard for 4 years to achieve some medal in the every 4 years we have this how do you call it the sport the Olympics, okay,
the Olympics, yes.
So people are working very hard for 4 years for achieving a medal in the Olympics, and most of the people are not getting the medals, you know. But only the fruit, it's only the medal at the end, you know, to get the silver medal, to get the gold medal. But you're working very hard. The work itself have not the same taste as the fruit at the end when you're getting the medal.
No, of course not.
God, in his vision, I will say, in his planning, he wanted that the world would have a combination that not only the fruit will have a good taste, but also the way of achieving these fruits will have a good taste. But at the end, we have in this world a very big gap, a very big difference. It's a missing world. It's a lacking world where the stage of achieving this issue, of achieving this goal, of achieving this fruit doesn't have the same taste like the fruit itself.
Right. Everybody today wants to cut corners. Everybody wants it instantly. We live in a world where everybody wants instant gratification, and they want instant reward, and they want an instant, especially here in the West. I mean, you can order something on Amazon and have it tomorrow if you pay the little fee to have it overnight. And I'll tell you, people tend to take that for granted when in reality, there is honest reward in hard work, isn't there?
It is true. It is true. But again, you're more than right. Everybody wants everything now and just now. And this is also why Amazon is so managing, you know, with all of the flies that they have there in the United States. And there is, and we're speaking about, you know, as adults, that it's very important also the way of achieving this goal. But the truth is that God, in his mind, in his planning, wanted that also the achieving will have the taste of the fruits, just like as the goal itself. And today we have a world that is a missing world, is a lacking world, that we don't have everything inside this world as God planted from the beginning. We will continue. Let's go on a bit more deeper inside, okay?
All right.
The next issue that I have, after we concluded and we saw 2 examples that each day have 4 stages of creation: the planning, the implementation, the judgment, and the conclusion. I'm asking you, Dan, now to read, okay, the seventh day. ויחולו, I will read in Hebrew and you will read it in English. ויחולו השמיים והארץ, ויחולו השמיים והארץ וכל צבאם, ויחל אלוהים ביום השביעי מלאכתו אשר עשה, וישבות ביום השביעי מכל מלאכתו אשר עשה, ויברך אלוהים את יום השביעי ויקדש אותו, כי בו שבת מכל מלאכתו אשר ברא אלוהים לעשות. Please write down and read it also in English.
Now the heavens and the earth were completed and all their host. And God completed on the seventh day his work that he did, and he abstained on the seventh day from all his work that he did. And God blessed the seventh day, and he hallowed it. For thereon he abstained from all his work that God created to do.
Here I'm a bit confused. Please help me, because I can't see those 4 stages in this seventh day. You with me, Aurimas? Just showing your hand. I can't see the 4 stages in this seventh day.
Yeah, I don't see any planning, but I see he completed on the seventh day.
So okay, so I will tell you the planning it is written down, the planning. Okay? He blessed and hallowed. This is the only thing that we see here. This is the only thing that we see here, that he is doing some sort of planning. But we don't see that it's happening. We don't see a judgment, and we don't see a conclusion. And I want to say here something very unique. This is only the first half. We will continue on next time. And then also our listeners will get an answer why the Shabbat, why the seventh day is so important for the Hebrew nation. And it will start also to explain to us why, I will say, the Christian world is celebrating the day after the seventh day, and why the Muslim world is celebrating the day before the seventh day. We will understand everything next week. But first of all, we need to see, and this is something that needs to be very clear, I will say like that maybe we never finished the seventh day. And this is why God is not saying that it has been implemented here, okay? The actual implementation is not yet. Therefore, God can't give us any judgment, and he can't conclude this day and say there was evening and there was the day, seventh day.
Oh my gosh, there's a deep lesson here, Rabbi. This is so profound, and I almost think it's gone over many people's heads. But this is what the whole of the text is about, right? The whole of Torah is about coming to that final state of judgment and confirmation and conclusion. Yes? Exactly.
So we can say that the seventh day, let's start to understand exactly what is written down in the seventh day. God completed, okay, on the seventh day, his work. So from now on, God is going to sit down and to abstain from his work, from all of his work. And who is going to do from now on? Men. And God is doing something very interesting. He is building up in this seventh day, that we are still today in the seventh day of the creation. Okay,
it's all in there. And then he blessed the seventh day and he hallowed it. Can you expound on those terms? He blessed it and he hallowed it.
I must expand, but just a moment before we will continue on this point. First of all, he is staying still. I will say if until now, on the first 6 days, we saw that God is interfering inside this nature and changing it all the time.
Wow.
Speaking with the earth and managing to do all sorts of things. Now that we have men inside here, he is freezing the nature that it will stay the same. Now, in the Hebrew tradition, if you will ask a scientific person, does he have a proof that tomorrow the sun will rise from the east or something like that? Nobody really have a proof. It just, it was always like that, so it will continue on. Who said? Maybe it will stop one day. In the Hebrew tradition, we're not saying like that. We're saying, no. God decided to abstain everything in the seventh day. We are still on the seventh day. And God fixed up the nature that it won't change. Like in the first 6 days, nothing will change. And in this phrase of the nature, man have his free will to do things in actions, to move on in life, I will say, to move, to bless and hallow this world in his actions. So at the end of the days, God will turn around. We'll explain those words in a few minutes. God will turn around and will say, excellent. I see that the world God blessed. I see that the world God hallowed. And it's good enough. So it was evening, it was day. Seventh day finished. Let's go to the next world. You with me? I'm saying, hello. I'm saying new things. I know people really usually don't hear those things. Don, are you with me?
Yeah, I'm with you, Rabbi. Can I ask you a question?
Just another few. You know what? Yes, you can ask me a question. Yes, go for it.
How the point that you're trying to get across? How does this relate, say, to the promise of Noah after the flood, when he said, as long as the earth shall remain, seed time and harvest, and all this will continue. And also in the prophets, where he talks about as surely as that the nation of Israel will continue, his people, the nation of Israel, will continue just as sure as the heavens continue in motion.
Those are, you're right. You mentioned two good verses. One is inside after Noah came out from the flood, and the other one is in Jeremiah, and also we have some sort of a similar sentence also in Yeshaya.
Yes.
What it says basically, first of all, there is a difference between the world, or so the nature of the world, from Adam and Eve until it came to Noah. And we can see the difference with the age of those people. The ages of the people from Adam and Eve till Noah was something like 900 years, 950 years, 930 years, 870 years. From Noah, it's only 120 years old. So something there has changed also with the nature of people, with the nature itself. And this is what it says there, that the nature is being much more strict than before.
Right.
But the most important point that I'm trying to say here, in this point of the seventh day, that God, in the Hebrew, I will say it like that, the philosophers of, who believe in God are trying to show God from the nature side. The truth is, and I'm going to say here hard things, that you can't really see God from the nature side. But the Hebrew tradition is saying something else. The Hebrew tradition is saying that God is covering himself through the nature laws.
Right.
Okay?
Concealing.
He's covering himself. Yes, you can't see him. And the word olam, world, is in Hebrew also the word he'elem, that he is hiding behind the scenes. Okay? Now, the Hebrew tradition is saying two things. First of all, he created this world, so he have the ability of changing this nature. Today, he is behind the scenes, but he have all sorts of tiny bitty sometimes that he is prophesying with us. He's speaking with us. He's, drilling inside those curtains so he can speak with us. But in the meanwhile, he's giving us free choice, so we will manage to decide for ourselves to be hallowed and to be blessed, and not that he is forcing us like angels to behave in one way. So we have the ability to be even more blessed or more higher than the angels. And this is how the Hebrew nation is looking on this issue. So the seventh day that we just only opened this issue, I'm going to explain bit, much more deeper inside to this, all of this issue on the next time. But we're starting to see that something here is a bit out of balance, okay? The first day that we spoke about, it's not the first day, the one day where whatever God wanted really happened. He wanted light and there was a light.
Instantly.
Exactly. And on the rest of the days, there is all the time a gap between what God planning and deciding and what is happening. But even though God is judging everything and says everything is good enough, we can continue on to the next stage, we can continue on to the next day. And at the end, the seventh day, something here is opened and not closed yet. And therefore, we need to understand what exactly is open and what exactly is being demanded from us, the man, the human in this world. And the truth is, what is demanded is to be blessed and to be hallowed. And I will explain this very deep and very understandable at the end. The only one note that I want to say is something that is related to our parsha, okay? The parsha that we're going to read next, on the next Shabbat. And the parsha is saying like that. Let me open this for a moment. I will share this with you also. Just a moment. Oh, come on. I know why I lose you. Just a moment. The parsha, our parsha, is very interesting. It starts, our parsha is starting with the words, Vayihi bayom hashmini. And at the eighth day, what will happen at the eighth day? Okay, this is how the parsha is starting. I will show this to you also.
Rabbi, I got a question from an online listener.
Just a moment. Let me share with you this screen. I will read it. Okay, it's in Leviticus Vayikra, chapter 9. Yes, in the third book, chapter 9, it says like that. Vayhi bayom hashmini, and it was on the 8th day. And what happened there? God put his, I will say, presence inside the Mishkan, inside the holy place of the Hebrew nation. So we have something here that is coming from the 8th day, okay? And you know that there were a lot of miracles there. So I will explain all of this next week, after we will also read this parsha, but we need to know that there is a day, that there is something here coming from, visiting from the 8th day, like the aliens that are visiting us from a different place, like E.T.
What a flood, yeah. A flood of information, Rabbi. There's a flood that you're pouring out here, and it just, I see it coming in droves when you're talking about the 8th day.
Okay, we will. We're going to speak everything. We're going to explain this 7th day and this 8th day, and we need to understand, this is how, now we're starting to understand what's happening here. And because as usually, when, someone is, for example, need to have, God forbidden, a surgery that they will replace his heart.
Right.
So you know that a lot of times the body is rejecting this new heart because it's something unusual in this body, and the same issue, to take this temple of the Hebrew nation that is coming from the 8th day. So it's something very unique, very unusual in this world. So what is happening all the time? People try to destroy it, and this is what happened. It was destroyed. Why? Because it's something not from this world. It's something from the 8th day, from the next coming world. So we will explain all of this in the next lecture. But if there are any more questions, this is the time. Okay, let's go with the questions.
Rabbi, that's amazing. I'm going to have to digest that for a long time. But yeah, I have somebody asking, why doesn't it say that the seventh day was good as in the previous statements of creation?
Because maybe we didn't finish the seventh day. I'm going to explain this next week in very profound way. Maybe we didn't really finish the seventh day. Maybe we are just, our history in this world is to create this seventh day to the right purpose of the seventh day. And only then God will manage to say, it's good enough. So let's move on to the eighth day, to the next world.
Getting it blessed and hallowed is what we need to do, right?
Yes, and we need to explain those two terms, yes. But this is what we need to do. This is God wish, God will, but he is asking us to do it. This is what the last few words of this day.
Amazing.
Do you have any questions?
It's just amazing. Anybody else have any questions?
Yes, I do. So, Rabbi, you mentioned that we are in charge of completing the creation on this seventh day. But isn't seventh day and the many works which are forbidden for the Sabbath are actually about creating something? So you're not allowed to do anything that creates something new, right?
No. I mean, you're starting to go inside to this issue of the seventh day, and I will go inside to this next week. We are allowed to do a lot of things. We are demanded to do a lot of things. Okay, not only allowed, we are demanded. We are demanded to do a lot of things in this world, but to do this in the right way.
Right.
This is what God is asking us to do. Okay, He stopped from doing everything, but He asked us to do. Those are the last words of this. Sorry? I can't hear you.
Hello, we're still here.
I can't hear you. Who is speaking? Renat, you speaking?
Yes. Do you hear us?
No, I'm saying, I'm answering your question. We are allowed to do a lot of things, not on the seventh day. I will explain this issue of the seventh day next week. But we are allowed to do things, and this is exactly what God is asking, and that God created to do. Who is going to do from now on? God is sitting down, in the seventh day. He's sitting still. He's not doing anything. He's just keeping this, I will say, nature that it won't start to do a lot of foggy or strange things, that it will stay at the same stage, this nature. And he's asking us to do things. The main issue that we need to do is to bless this world and to hallow this world. And what exactly those two words and what exactly to do, we will speak about this next week. And what are the times that we need to do those things, and when are the times that we need to stop and not do those things. Those are things that we're going to speak next week to understand exactly this seventh day, that we didn't finish it. Not only we didn't finish it now in this lesson because the time is finished, but also because we can see on the creation, in the first 4 stages of the creation that each day have, that in the seventh day, we just in the first stage. We're not in the second, we're not in the third, and we're not in the fourth. So we are lacking something. So if we're thinking logically, we're saying that we are in the seventh day. And those are the things that we need to do to help God that it will happen.
Wow.
Well,
yes, Aurimas.
Rabbi Chaim, so I have a question, if I may. So if we enter the Messianic age, would that mean that our seventh day is over and we move to the eighth day, or is it still the seventh day?
I'm not sure that I catch your question. If you can ask it again, I'm sorry. I'm not sure that I managed to understand exactly.
In very simple language. So when the humanity moves to the Messianic age, does it mean that we also move to the next day of creation, that we are in day 8 already, or is it still day 7, but of later stage?
Okay, so there is a good question. When exactly are we going to move from day 7 to day 8? Okay, one of the things that we can see, or we can start to understand, okay, I'm not going to go inside to this issue now, that after the Christian world decided that the Messiah already came, Jesus, okay, already came, that it's a time to celebrate the day after the Shabbat, the day after the seventh day. And this is why they decided that the first day, the day number 1, is the most important day, because it's the day after the seventh day, because we already finished the seventh day. Starting to understand. So the question is, when exactly are we finishing this seventh day? But we didn't finish it yet. I'm saying to you, the truth is we didn't finish, even though we're already in a very interesting stage of time. And the world is coming to a better place. Okay, I will call it like that. But we didn't finish it at the seventh day, and it's a good question. We'll deal with this next week.
Wow, that's some amazing stuff, Rabbi. And
it's not mine. I got it in heritage. I learned it.
We look forward to hearing you share more with us next week. It's amazing that this has been there, and I've been viewing this material not without a rabbi for most of my life, over 50 years, and still never heard what you shared today. And I see there's a lot there that still I need to decipher and digest. But I saw a glimpse today of things that you shared that just begin to pool everything together over all time with what Hashem is planning, intending, and doing. And I think it's exciting.
Okay, thank you very much, Dana. So as we say all the time, now we're going to the in between the lines from this week for next week. And it's all on the internet, so you can all think about those issues. Again, you can ask questions, you can send questions, you can relate to the video, and I hope to see you all next week.
Awesome.
Also, if I may say a word to conclude, also, you set us all in a very contemplative mood, and really, well, most of the time I sat stunned listening to you. So indeed, this is a very impactful lecture you delivered, and it gives us food for thought for a very long time to come. Well, tada rabba be'emet.
Thank you very much. I'm trying.
And Dan, very nice to hear you. Hope you hear me too now.
Yeah, we hear you clear. We are hearing you loud and clear. We'll get this looking good. And I am enjoying thoroughly this connection from around the globe. We are almost completely opposite sides of the globe. And it's an honor to meet you, gentlemen, and get to know you more, and especially over the wonderful words of Torah.
Well, okay. Hopefully, Dan, we also get in touch with each other by email, because I would very much like to establish personal contact with you.
For sure. Rabbi Chaim has my email. I can give it to you. It's actually Chacham at God Over Time.
I will organize a three, I will send them an email for all of three of us together also.
Awesome.
Wonderful.
Okay. So see you, blessing from Jerusalem, and see you all next week.
Blessings from Jerusalem. See you next Monday, folks. Same time. Actually, Rabbi, we got daylight savings in Israel, right?
Exactly.
The 29th. Exactly. Next week, you have daylight savings.
So, Rega, so for my, if you're asking me, we can stay in the same time. So I'll move it 1 hour later. So it will be 7:30 at my time, if it's okay with all of you. So
I don't know. Do they change in Lithuania?
Yes. So for us, when we moved to this international mode, the timing did not change. It was the same as before. So
do you change coming up, or have you already changed your time?
So
why don't we keep it, Rabbi? Keep it the same time at 6:30 Israel, and okay. I'll back up an hour.
Okay, excellent. Fair enough.
So yeah, that'll be 8:30 a.m. Pacific for me next Monday, 6:30 p.m. still in Israel with the new daylight savings time.
Okay.
All right, folks, we'll see you then. Have a lovely week. Shalom, shalom.
Shalom, 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 everybody.
Okay, bye-bye. Erev Tov.
Bye.